Hi guys, this is Wrestling Retrospective, and in this video I will be doing the review of WWE and AEW this week. So first off we start with Raw. It was nice to see this week that Raw started off with straight into a match where Damian Priest defeated Sami Zayn. This though was a pretty bang average match, no real complaints. It was interesting to see that McDonough helped Priest get the win, though Priest didn't appreciate him pushing him over after the match. You would have thought that Priest being a heel and saying that the Judgment Day do whatever they can to win, that he would have appreciated the win, and it would have maybe put into storyline Priest being more convinced that JD McDonough wants to be part of the Judgment Day, except he did the complete opposite, which I don't think made sense in my opinion. I know that they're doing this whole thing with Balor and Priest falling out, whatever, but this would have been a good way to try and turn that around if Priest started to trust McDonough a bit more. But as I said, the match itself was alright. There was obviously both are really good and really cool parts of the match, but it was pretty bang average for me. I feel like these two could do much more, and hopefully they will do more during the tag team match at the pay-per-view. Next up we had The Miz dressing up as LA Knight. This made me chuckle about just how cringe it was. It was a pretty standard generic heel promo for the final say before the pay-per-view. It wasn't great. They could have done with a bit more interaction with LA Knight, but clearly it wasn't there on the Raw. But yeah, I found it very cringe for the most part. I don't like it when wrestlers dress up as other wrestlers unless it's for a comedy bit, which obviously this wasn't for. Following that, we had the Viking Raiders defeat the New Day. This was an okay tag team match. Nothing of note really happened until the finish. Obviously McIntyre lost his cool and threw a chair, which injured Xavier Woods, and yeah, it just, as you said, the chair throw from McIntyre to Woods looked brutal. It looked worse than when Braun threw a chair at Roman. And it didn't surprise me at all that it was released that Woods was very hurt from it. But yeah, I didn't get the DQ finish. As obviously at this point, having a DQ finish from Raw isn't a shock. What I like about AEW is that they never seem to do DQ finishes, whereas WWE rely on them a lot, which is a massive shame. But to be fair, this is a huge win for the Viking Raiders to get a win over the New Day when they've been on such a losing run at the moment. And yeah, other than that, given more time, this could have been quite good. But again, it's just you can't take the Viking Raiders seriously because they lose all the time. And this whole Drew McIntyre and Riddle thing is, I'm not enjoying this. I didn't enjoy RK Bro, and I'm kind of sick of Riddle. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of Riddle. Following that, we had Chad Gable defeat Ludwig Kaiser. However you say it, you know what I mean. This was a quality match. I like how they put Chad Gable against every member of Imperium, and they put on great matches, and there's just been great wrestling throughout from Gable and each member. And yeah, it's been probably the best feud on Raw at the minute. And yeah, I say Kaiser hit some impactful shots throughout the match, the chops and kicks, and it was really, really good to see. I'm glad that Kaiser got this chance to show off his kind of abilities and stuff like that, because you don't get to see him much wrestle as much as Gunther and Vinci. But I do feel like Imperium need to get back on the tag team run again and go for the championships. But in my opinion, the tag team titles have been held hostage by Zayn and Owens, so it doesn't surprise me that they're nowhere near tag title division. But yeah, Zayn, I'm looking forward to Gunther and Gable next week. They showed that they twice now in the 5-minute challenge and in the original Intercontinental title match that these two can put on a great match. And now that the stakes are so high as far as the Intercontinental title being on the line, and with Gunther going over the Honky Tonk Man's reign being on the line, I can't see Gable winning, but this could be one of the better matches on Raw in Raw's history, in my opinion. Just because of how good these two are. It just needs to be given time. It should probably be main event as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really cool match. After that, we had Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura have their segment. Again, it was a pretty bang average segment. Nakamura always seems to be getting the upper hand, which I feel like, as I said in my predictions, is going to end up being the fall for him, because Rollins is going to win because Nakamura's always had the upper hand. But yeah, again, not a great way to have a final segment for the pay-per-view. Following that, we had Tommaso Ciampa defeat Bronson Reed. Another okay match. It was very quick. I said the issue with Raw is the fact they have so many segments that they can't give matches time. And especially on a 3-hour show, you'd expect matches to be given more time. But once again, we had a short match between Ciampa and Reed. The thing is that you wouldn't believe that Ciampa would be able to defeat Reed in such quick fashion, but he did. And yeah, you expected a David versus Goliath situation, and it just wasn't that at all. Obviously, we know that Ciampa and Bronson have faced NXT, or I assume they have. But yeah, this match just didn't live up to any kind of expectation. It just was, very quick. Ciampa stole the win, but the win itself doesn't feel like it's worth anything. It feels like, it's just another win for Ciampa. It doesn't feel like it's going to lead to anything, which is a massive shame. After that, we had Rhea Ripley addressing Raquel Rodriguez in the ring. They brawl, but it's literally the same promo that Miz did on LA Knight and Rollins and Nakamura did, except there was a brawl at the end. Each one was the same promo, except nothing happened for the Miz one. Nakamura took out Rollins, and Raquel and Rhea brawled. It was just, there's no originality to any of this, and it's very hard to watch when that is the case. And yeah, in the main event, we had Becky Lynch defeat Zoe Stark in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This was action-packed. It was overall a really good match. We knew that Trish was going to get involved, and she did very, very much. But Lynch would take her out so she'd be gone for most parts of the match, apart from for the finish. But yeah, there was lots of in-ring action. Trish threw a chair at Zoe's face, which I think if it was an accident is hilarious. I can't see it being on purpose, but she just so happened to throw a chair so perfectly it smacked Stark in the face, and Stark reacted to it like she'd just been hit by a fly. I found it quite funny. It almost added to the match almost, because even if a turn does happen at the pay-per-view, it's just, I don't know, I thought it was absolute quality part of the match. But yeah, I thought it was a really good finish with the few table spots where Becky took out Trish, and then Zoe accidentally took out Trish, and then Becky hit the manhandle slam through the table to get the win. And yeah, I think the steel cage match is going to be one of the better matches on the card on Sunday or tomorrow. I'm recording this part on Saturday on the morning of Payback, so you'll have to forgive me if I start referencing different timelines. But yeah, I think they're going to have a really cool match. I genuinely enjoyed the Falls Count Anywhere match. It kind of did what it needed to do, and I think, yeah, as I said, I think the match in the steel cage is going to live up to it. I know that Trish is wanting a steel cage match, and this is a perfect way to do it. And this was a really good way to end a pretty mediocre episode of Raw, in my opinion. Following that with AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley defeated Commander to kick off the show. I thought this was a really cool way to start Dynamite. I like how wrestling is kicking off shows this week. It's a great way to go. And yeah, this was a decent match. Commander got some really good offense in against Moxley. I thought it was going to be very one-sided, especially as Commander doesn't win very often. I don't think he's actually won at all in AEW, but it wasn't as one-sided. I said, really good way to start off Dynamite. And Moxley quickly got a win with some power moves and submissions. But yeah, it was just a quality match to start off. It was everything it needed to be, and it gave Moxley a match before his all-out match with Orange Cassidy. But like I said, he just did everything it needed to do, really. Moxley got a win, meaning he's got momentum going into the pay-per-view. And yeah, it's a decent way to start off. Following that, we had the Chris Jericho segment where Jericho and Guevara go back and forth insulting each other, and then they agree to start a tag team run as the Sex Gods. This was really confusing because Jericho was almost blaming Guevara for losing against Ospreay, and then they insulted each other loads, and then they were like, oh yeah, but we're friends, so we should be a tag team, fuck it, And for me, it made absolutely no sense at all. It should be a good run. If this deteriorates into Sammy turning on Jericho, then I don't have an issue with it. But if they actually do go on to win the tag titles and they go on a run with them and nothing actually happens, I wouldn't be very happy with that. As I said, hopefully it means that Sammy's going to turn face almost. or Jericho turns on Sammy. Either way, as long as somebody turns on somebody, I'm going to be happy, because Jericho versus Guevara would be a great match, and they've been teasing this for way too long for this not to happen. After that, we had Eddie Kingston defeating Wheeler Yuta, retaining the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. And this was a good match, quality wrestling from both. They really showed how much Yuta has improved in this one, and I say that nearly every Yuta match, but it is, I just remember nearly 2 years ago when Yuta was with the Best Friends and he was a jobber and he was rubbish, and just, yeah, it's really cool to see the progression he's made. And yeah, I'm just really happy, big fan of the Blackpool Combat Club, so I mean, I have no complaints for this match from me. Kingston's just great too, isn't he? He should be so much higher on the card, but yeah, he isn't, and I'm glad that New Japan have given him a championship, because he fully deserves our championship. But yeah, I'd like to see Eddie Kingston on All Out. Is what I've written in my notes. Obviously, it was announced after Dynamite that he's going to have a tag team match with Shibata, and that should be a real quality tag team match. As I actually put in my notes, the only person I can see him facing is Claudio, and ironically he's in the tag team match with Claudio. So yeah, so the timelines, I should really record this on a Thursday, but I don't. I've recorded it on Saturday. My apologies. Following that, we had an Adam Cole segment where Roderick Strong and the Kingdom came out. They had a confrontation about how Adam Cole's a rubbish friend, because everything around AEW is all who is whose friend. It makes no sense. It sucked with the Bucks, and it sucks here too. But yeah, Roderick Strong's entering the Eliminator tournament for the World Championship. If he wins, I will be shocked. I mean, it kind of depends who else is in the tournament. We don't know what the bracket is, but I will be shocked to hell if he wins that tournament and gets a match with MJF. Like, if it were me, I would have had him just challenge MJF, and MJF see it as like a completely easy championship match, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'll face you next week on Dynamite, and just have MJF squash Roderick Strong. I would have preferred that massively, but no, he's going to enter the tournament instead and probably lose. But I don't know, it's an interesting way to go about it. I am a big fan of Mike Bennett, so I feel like if they can get them on, or at least him on AEW more, that would be great for me. I mean, I haven't seen much of the Kingdom other than the matches they've kind of had on Rampage randomly, but yeah, they say they are a good team. They're former champions in Ring of Honor, so it's a good way to get them into the door of AEW if that's where they want to go with this. But can I see Adam Cole turning heel on MJF and joining the Kingdom like he was in Ring of Honor? Not at the minute. He might do eventually, but not right now. I feel like MJF and Adam Cole are way too hot and way too over to be getting rid of that so early. Following that, we had Statlander, Baker and Shida defeat Nyla Rose, Marina Shafir and Emi Satomura. I am rubbish with Japanese names, honestly, other than Shinsuke Nakamura, because that's easy. But yeah, this was, in the words of MJF, a mid-match. I expected a lot more from this, but it felt like an easy way to get women on TV for that week. I feel like they could have gone such a different way. But that is what it is. You know, there's a momentum boost for Statlander going into All Out. And, God, Marina Shafir is so bad at wrestling. Like, whenever we see her, it's just awful. It's awful promos. It's awful wrestling. I think she tripped over the ropes trying to get out of the ring at one point. It's just so bad. And like, I've heard such good things when she's at Bloodsport. Have that. If she's good at extreme shit, have her doing that, because the regular wrestling stuff is just not her thing clearly. And yeah, just, it's almost laughable when she's in the ring. And yeah, after Statlander gets the win, Ruby Soho gets a cheap shot. I won't say she attacked her. She gets a cheap shot and takes the championship and lays it out on the ramp. And then it's announced that the Outcasts are going to face Statlander, Shida and Baker on Collision. This is a stupid idea. You know, all we've known from the Outcasts so far, since like at All In and after, is Tony has clearly turned on Ruby and turned on Saraya. So their answer to that is to put them in a tag match, when we know the whole thing's going to break down because Storm doesn't trust Saraya and Ruby and Soho Ruby and Saraya don't trust Tony, and it's all gonna come up in flames. And it's such a stupid way to go with this. They should have just had a segment on Dynamite where Storm leaves the Outcasts, or Soho and Saraya kick out Tony. In the media scrum, Saraya said, word for word, Storm will have to apologise on her hands and knees to Saraya for what she did at All In. And now they're just like, oh yeah, but they're in a tag team match, so you know. There's no sense in all this at all. And that's why, for that match, Statlander, Baker and Shida are going to get the win again, because everything's going to break down communications-wise with the Outcasts. But again, it'll be a decent way for them to get momentum. If the Outcasts get the win, it's Soho getting the pin, which means that she'll lose on the pay-per-view. That's how I'm expecting it to go tonight on Collision. After that, we had a segment with the Acclaimed. They had this whole podium thing. They cut a nice promo, just typical babyface promo. They thanked Billy Gunn, but Billy Gunn's now badass. Not badass. Billy Gunn is now daddy ass again, so that's nice for everyone. I don't like the Acclaimed, right? I really do not like the Acclaimed. It's not my cup of tea at all. And then they released these custom titles where they've got scissors on the straps, and the straps are pink, and it's all very good. I apologize, my phone will throw it over there. Oh, that didn't sound good. Yeah, it wasn't good. I didn't like it at all. The belts look awful now. They're pink, and like, no offense to people that like pink, I just doesn't think it fits a strap, in my opinion. But yeah, they also called them the House of Ass, which is just so stupid. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. They're defending their titles on Collision, which I feel like will be a decent match against Garcia in 2.0. But yeah, really did not like this at all. And finally, in the main event, we had Orange Cassidy successfully defending the International Championship against Penta El Zero Miedo. This was a quality match. This was the right match to go on as the main event. I loved it very much. There was action throughout. They say the last few weeks on Dynamite, the main events have been pretty mid. This is what a main event should feel like. There was a lot on the line. There was a match with Moxley coming up as well, and yeah, it was just a really cool match. You know, there was the finish to the match with the Destroyer on the apron, and then the Destroyers everywhere else was awesome. And I forgot what they call it now, I just check my notes. The Made in Japan? I don't know. Penta's finisher, and then he did that on the apron, and I only got a 2, was insane. I cannot believe that Cassidy managed to get out of that match unscathed. And yeah, he stole the win with a roll-up, and then he cut probably one of the best promos of the year after the match. I won't go into what he said, because you can just go watch it. It's a really good promo about, especially after all the backstage stuff we're hearing from All In. This was a really good reminder that, you know what, people actually do care about AEW, do want to be here, do get on with everybody, and the championship means like the most to Orange Cassidy. And from that point, I have been hyped about this match with Moxley even more than I originally was. In my opinion, it probably should go on last at All Out, but I know it won't. It'll probably be Kenny and Takeshita. But yeah, this was really good. Really good main event. Brilliant match. Brilliant promo. Everything about it. And then they had the confrontation with Moxley where Orange held his own. And man, I am fully looking forward to the match at All Out. And yeah, this was a really good way to finish Dynamite, in my opinion. Following that, we had SmackDown. John Cena kicked off the show with a really cool promo even easy for me to say, about how he appreciates the fans. He's going to be host of Payback tonight. Yeah, tonight. I'm recording this Saturday morning, so yeah. And then Jimmy comes and interrupts him, asking why he's here, cuts this generic heel promo on why John Cena's around. It's such rubbish. It's like, oh, why are you here? You don't need to be here. Fucking, you know, what else is it? Oh, you just like Roman. You get rid of younger talent, but you do it with a smile on your face. It's Jimmy Uso looks like someone trying to be a heel, and it is not clicking with me. He got new theme music that's rubbish, and yeah, not a great way to start off SmackDown. Very happy that Cena's back. He's one of my favourites of all time. But the stuff with Jimmy was rubbish, and then Cena just dropped Jimmy because he can, and it was lovely, and I really liked it. Following that, we had the opening match, which was Grayson Waller and Austin Theory taking on Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. The annoying thing about this is the fact that Santos Escobar has been cleared to wrestle like 3 weeks after he could have had his United States title match. They could have just put that on hold and then had Santos Escobar win the title instead of Rey. And the only way for me that this means anything is if Santos Escobar turns on Rey Mysterio and we get Legado del Fantasma back, and it's awesome. Like, you know, anything else, just, I don't know, it's just not worth it. I appreciate that the LWO is really over right now, but yeah, it's just like, this isn't very good, and I'm not enjoying it. The US title feels like it's gone even further down. Like, Theory has made that title pretty much worthless, and having Rey having it is, in my opinion, just kept it at that level, even made it worse. Rey didn't need it, Rey didn't deserve it, he didn't win the tournament that they had. It was just like, it's so silly. But the match itself was decent, to be fair. I enjoyed it for the most part. Waller and Theory got a really good showing here. Yeah, for the finish, Escobar sacrificed himself for Rey Mysterio. But I think this was a huge win for Waller and Theory. I felt like they make a really good team. If they were going to make them into a more regular team, it would be good. I feel like it would be a really good way to do it. And yeah, I feel like they would make a really good young heel tag team. If they were lost in the shuffle or didn't know what to do with them creatively, that's the way to go. But yeah, really good showing for both Theory and Waller. And yeah, I look forward to seeing their matches at the pay-per-view, just because, I mean, that's a lie. That's a complete lie. I don't give a shit about the United States Championship match. I don't want either man to win. If it could end a draw and we vacate the title, that would be ideal. But that's not going to happen. I think I predicted that Theory was going to get the win. Almost. I can't even remember who I predicted, because I don't care. And Waller's got a segment with Cody Rhodes, which I feel like something major might happen. I'm not sure what. I'm hoping for a McIntyre heel turn. But either way, great match on SmackDown. Interesting what Waller's going to do at the pay-per-view. Everything else, really not bothered about. Escobar, turn heel, please. After that, we had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens defend. They weren't defending the titles with. They just had a tag team match with the LWO. This was awful, in my opinion. This wasn't great at all. The LWO had a terrible showing. It's another case of a quick match on a show that is 2 hours. They've got 2 hours to play with. This was a really short match, in my opinion. LWO really didn't get much offense in. And I just don't understand how they're having great teams, such as Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. They've got the OC, they've got Imperium, and they are not using them to their full potential. They are having them lose every week. They're having them have quick matches every week. It sucks. The booking is awful. You know, these teams could be having great matches every month on pay-per-view, every week on Raw and SmackDown, and they're not doing anything with them because, as I said in the Raw part, Owens and Zayn have got these titles held hostage. Like, get the titles off them, give them to a proper team, and let the tag titles be elevated to the standard that they should be. They have awesome tag teams. Like I said, you know, the LWO, Imperium, the OC, Alpha Academy, just to name a few, could be putting on banger matches every month for the tag team championships, elevating them. We got the New Day back. They're just the prime example of them elevating the tag titles back in 2015, I think. The tag team titles meant something back then. Now they don't mean anything. They've got in my opinion, two single stars in Zayn and Owens having the titles, and it sucks whenever they do that, unless it makes sense in a story. But yeah, it's just so annoying to see how the tag division has been not just lowered, but buried completely. Like, we need good tag team wrestling back, because at the minute, they have great teams that have great potential, that can put on great matches, and they are doing nothing with them, and it is so frustrating to watch. Anyway, now my rant about the tag team division is over. We have a really, really good promo and a brawl from LA Knight and The Miz. They go back and forth kind of about each other's lives. And yeah, LA Knight did some usual insults about Miz and Mrs. and stuff like that. Miz mentioned how LA Knight was on reality TV and he did rubbish, and yeah, it was just a really good promo from both. Like, this is the way to do a final promo before a match. Nakamura and Rollins, Rhea and Raquel, take notes. That's how you do it. Following that, we had Shotzi facing Bayley. This was a pretty average match. It was even for most part of the match. Shotzi is someone I've always liked since she was on NXT. The new look, I don't like it. I understand what it stands for. I respect what it stands for with her sister and that. I don't like it. But yeah, as I said, for the most part, it was a really even match. Again, it could have done with a bit more time, but it didn't. What doesn't make sense to me is, why did Charlotte Flair get involved? Like, is she feuding? She needs to be feuding with Bayley, but then, like, in my opinion, get her away from Io Sky and that championship. Please, for God's sake, get her away from Io. Because I am not doing this Charlotte Flair wins a championship because she's Charlotte Flair stuff again. It was rubbish every time they've done it. I do not want to do it again. And if she's feuding with Bayley, it's just like, why? There's no reason for Flair to be feuding with Bayley. Bayley is feuding with Shotzi. So why are we forcing Charlotte Flair into this? Because it makes no sense. We have a tag team match next week with Flair and Shotzi and Bayley and Io, and if Flair and Io, in that tag match, if Flair and Shotzi get the win because Flair pinned Io, I am going to be very upset if we end up going to Fastlane and it's Flair and Io for the title, because Charlotte Flair should not be anywhere near the title picture again. She's had her chance. She had it at SummerSlam. She lost. Therefore, she should be back of the line. But she's not, because she's Charlotte Flair. She is the line. She's the opportunity. Whatever. Keep her away from Io Sky, please. No title reigns for Charlotte Flair. And finally, in the main event, we had Solo Sikoa defeat AJ Styles. This is another case of timing. This was an alright match. It could have been a great match given time. AJ Styles hadn't finished his entrance with 15 minutes left of SmackDown. And we had a commercial break to go as well. It was just like, you know, you consider this, like the entrance wasn't done with 15 minutes left. Then we had stuff after the match, and we had a break. It was just like, this match had no time. This was like a 8-10 minute match between AJ Styles and Solo Sikoa. This could be a pay-per-view match for a championship, and it's not. It's on SmackDown randomly. And also, with AJ Styles confronting Jimmy, it shouldn't have been Jimmy and AJ, not Solo and AJ. Oh, I don't know. And by the way, Carl Anderson is correct. The OC should not be getting involved in bloodline stuff because they will just be buried. Like, get them away. If you're going to have them feud with the bloodline, you have AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns. Don't do this whole Solo and Jimmy and the OC and stuff like that. No, if you're going to give AJ Styles a title match, if you're going to do the OC versus the bloodline. But don't mess about with the lowest, like, not lower stuff, but just like stuff that doesn't matter as much, because it's all about Jimmy apparently. But yeah, Jimmy cost AJ the match, and then he did the one to Solo and Heyman, and I am not going to lie to you, if Jimmy rejoins the bloodline, this whole thing goes in the bin from that point onwards, because it makes no sense. Jimmy cost Jay because he didn't want Jay to become Roman. So then Jimmy then rejoins the bloodline. Therefore, Jimmy is a massive hypocrite, and all the wires get tangled, and none of this makes sense. I remember it was only like 2 months ago. Anything with the bloodline on SmackDown was worth watching because you didn't know what was going to happen. And now it's just like, I don't care. You've missed the prime point to have this come to an end. You do it at SummerSlam when Jay beats Roman. But now Roman's not going to be around till probably Survivor Series, I assume. Therefore, you have to find a way to do this without Roman, which is practically impossible at this point, because Roman is the underlying factor of, he's the one everyone needs to beat to end this. And yeah, we're just not getting that anytime soon, because Roman's at home with his kid, you know, just not doing work because he's lazy. No, I mean, he's not lazy, but you know, it's silly. He's a massive hypocrite. Go back and watch his feud with Brock Lesnar. He is a massive hypocrite. Anyway, that's not the point. And just to add on, Jimmy Uso throughout the night, like I mentioned him during the opening stuff, but I'm just going to talk about what he did throughout the night. And man, this whole thing, it makes no sense. I don't understand it. He looks like somebody who's trying to be a heel. He doesn't feel like a heel. None of this makes sense. Last time we saw him, he was walking away from Jay because he didn't feel like a heel. He just felt like a face who was facing the consequences of his actions after betraying his brother and costing him the championship. But now he's a full-blown heel. He's insulting John Cena, of which he got dropped for. He then went in and disrespected Mia Yim, of which that meant AJ Styles went and confronted him because they're all part of the OC. Jimmy pushed him, and then AJ pushed him to the floor, so he got dropped again. And then Solo had to come and save him because he's, this whole thing is like, oh, Jimmy's like the big brother, and yet it was Solo, his younger brother, that saved him. I'm not gonna lie to you, Jimmy Uso had a shirt that said nobody's bitch. Jimmy Uso should get a new shirt that said Jimmy is a bitch, because he looked like a huge bitch throughout this whole episode of SmackDown. And yeah, I found it funny because he's trying to act like a heel and it's not fitting well. And honestly, I can't wait for Jay to destroy him whenever he comes back. Cena owned him. People still say owned? I don't know. But Cena owned him with like a sentence during the opening segment when he said the wrong Uso quit, which I couldn't agree more with. If this is the way, I do wonder what the segment was going to be last week if we hadn't had the tribute show, because this was awful. This was so bad. To be fair, almost everything about SmackDown was bad this week. I didn't really enjoy it at all. I think the only saving grace for SmackDown this week was John Cena's return and LA Knight and the Mrs. promo. The matches were pretty bang average and weren't given time. And yeah, it was all very mediocre from SmackDown this week, which is very disappointing. Following that, we have AEW Rampage. This kicked off with the Battle Royal to determine the number one contenders for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships at All Out, which Dark Order won. I think this was a huge win for Dark Order, but it is really nice to see them back on pay-per-view. It's been quite a while since they've had a pay-per-view match, so it was good. I say good to see them back. I don't think there's a bad Battle Royal. They're always fun to watch. The only thing I'm not sure about is Dark Order being a heel. I associate them so much with being face, especially John Silver. I think back to being the Elite stuff with Brody and stuff like that. I don't know, it's hard for me to see him as a heel when I expect him to be a face all the time. Especially as he's so likable as well. He's such a great wrestler and has huge strength that I don't understand how people can't get behind him. So it's interesting to see them. Well, it will be interesting to see them wrestle as heels at the weekend, or tomorrow even, as I'm recording this on Saturday evening. But yeah, so it should be a decent match. Obviously, Reynolds and Silver are a great team. We've been tagging for a long time, and obviously MJF and Adam Cole are a great singles competitor and are great as a team, as we know from All In. So yeah, either way, it should be a really good match, but it's quite straightforward. I think it's going to win. I think, as I put in the predictions, MJF and Adam Cole are 100% going to get the win. After that, we had an absolutely brilliant match between Vikingo and Nick Wayne teaming up to defeat Kip Sabian and Gringo Loco. There were some absolutely beautiful transitions between Gringo Loco and Vikingo to start the match up, and it pretty much didn't stop from there. It was just action-packed throughout. Probably one of the better tag team matches I've seen in a long time, obviously apart from the pay-per-view matches. But Rampage has been a real place of just almost random matches but being great wrestling, and it's good to see it be used that way. If they're going to have Collision as well, then why not give opportunity to people on Rampage? Vikingo is absolutely fantastic. I cannot say enough good stuff about Vikingo, and I feel like even though he's in AAA at the minute, the more AEW use him, the better really. I feel like he's absolutely fantastic. Every time I see him, it just blows me away. Nick Wayne, he needs a character. He can't just be Darby Allin's friend's son forever. I kind of see him almost as like a Dominic Mysterio type, where he needs that kind of something else to give him a character, maybe back off from Darby Allin a little bit so he can be his own man. But for me, the main part of this that I was thinking of was Kip Sabian is so underutilized. He is such a good wrestler, and he could and should be doing way more for AEW. You know, like one of the first matches I saw of AEW was Kip Sabian and Hangman Page. I think it was like a Fyter Fest or something, and it was a fantastic match. And yeah, I just think that he should be, especially now we've got Collision, he could be having feuds on Collision with having really good matches on pay-per-view. But unfortunately, for months and probably even years now, he's been so underutilized, and I just want to see more of Kip Sabian, really. Following that, we had Hangman Page defeat Brian Keith. This was an alright match. Keith looked really good for the most part. I know that like the last part of the transition, Hangman started messing with the crowd and stuff, which then Brian tried to take advantage of, but he didn't, and it was a brutal buckshot lariat to finish the match. But I am worried that Hangman Page is going to get lost in the shuffle a bit. You know, it doesn't feel like that long ago he was world champion, and now, you know, he's kind of not doing much. I can't remember the last time he had a match on Dynamite, a singles match anyway. And yeah, I'm worried that now he's back with the Elite, he's actually going to like start falling by the wayside instead of doing his own stuff and having more feud. But what he needs really is just a decent feud just to keep him around. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Hangman. I just want to see him more on Dynamite and instead of having random matches on Rampage. And finally, in the main event, we had Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale take on and defeat Taya Valkyrie and Anna Jay. This felt like a really random main event. Like, this didn't have any ramifications for anything. It was just put in there because, I assume, because Sky Blue is from Chicago. But I would have probably had this go on first and had either the Battle Royal or the Vikingo and Nick Wayne, Gringo Loco, Kip Sabian match go on last. But as I said, the match itself was alright. As I said, it took away from the match that there was no ramifications or there was no stories involved with either. It went on for a lot longer than I thought, and for the most part the heels controlled, which I was surprised about because I view the team of Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale as the stronger team. I'm a big fan of Taya Valkyrie, not that much of a fan of Anna Jay, but as far as recent pushes go, you know, Willow won the tournament, Sky Blue's been getting big pushes on Dynamite and Collision. So yeah, I expected them to win the match anyway, but I expected them to do it in more dominant fashion, which just wasn't the case, as Anna Jay and Taya Valkyrie controlled the match more or less the whole time. And it was very clear that with Willow being cut off from Sky Blue so much that they want to go for the big pop and hot tag for Sky Blue. And I'll be honest, when it happened, the crowd went pretty mild. I wouldn't have said that they went absolutely crazy for Sky Blue, but she got the win, and it was a half decent tag team match. Taya Valkyrie attacked Sky Blue after the match, so whether they have a singles match next week or on Collision, I'm not sure. Maybe they have a 0-hour match, but nothing's been announced as of now. The All Out is tomorrow, but there is no 0-hour matches announced. And yeah, it's a decent match, but I don't think the main event was a good fit for Rampage. But once again, it was a decent episode of Rampage, and they're just putting good wrestling on, and if that's what it's going to be, then that's going to make people want to watch Rampage more often. But I said I would have had the main event be the Battle Royal, just because it has implications on All Out. And yeah, the match of the night on Rampage was 100% the tag team match between Vikingo and Nick Wayne, El Gringo Loco and Kip Sabian. And yeah, just an enjoyable hour of wrestling, really. So last and certainly not least, we have Collision. This started off with Ricky Starks challenging Ricky Steamboat to a strap match, or a no DQ strap match, even though strap matches are no DQ, so I don't know why they tried to make that specific. But either way, he got a really good promo about just self-belief and how he believes in Big Bill and stuff like that. So that was actually a really nice promo from a heel, to be fair. Like, I kind of feel like Starks is a tweener just because he's so liked by the fans. I certainly like him. I think he's a great talent. And yeah, I feel like, you know, it was kind of like a face promo by a heel, but you know, it worked. It worked really well, and you can see that Ricky, like, genuinely feels really passionate about this, and it does feel like he's been properly screwed over by Mr. Philip Brook Punk. But yeah, so then after that, he signed a contract that said The Dragon, that Ricky Steamboat brought out. But he didn't mean Ricky the Dragon. No, he meant the American Dragon. And Danielson's back, which I'm very, very happy about. I'm also very, very not happy because if he's okay to fight this week, why is he not okay to fight last week? And I could have watched him live at All In. But I'm going to leave my saltiness to the side because I like Danielson a lot. But yeah, this was a great segment, a really cool swerve from Steamboat on Swerve. Swerve? No, this was a great swerve on Starks. Sorry, Swerve wasn't there. I don't know why I said Swerve. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a really cool match to All Out. I feel like they've inserted a main event match out of nowhere. I'm very much looking forward to it. I just feel sorry for Starks, who did absolutely get screwed over by CM Punk. But moving on to the first match of the evening, which was the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass defeating Garcia, Parker and Menard to retain the Trios World Tag Team Championship. How do you word that? They say World Trio titles, don't they? So we'll go with that. They retained the World Trios Championships. This was a really good match. There weren't a dull moment in it. But the issue was there was never any doubt that the Acclaimed were winning here. They were never going to drop the titles first time of asking the day before a pay-per-view. Obviously, we didn't know at the time. I didn't watch this live. I watched Payback. So I'm watching this morning. And yeah, we knew that they're having a title match on the 0 hour. Therefore, I knew they weren't lose the title. But I knew they wouldn't lose the title anyway. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. But yeah, this kind of took away from the match because you knew the Acclaimed were going to win. But it was still a decent match. It was 3 good wrestlers having a decent match on Collision. You know, it was alright, but it was a good first title defense for the Acclaimed. So after that, we had Aussie Open defeat Nick Wayne and Commander. This was a quality match, just great tag team from Aussie Open as usual, who are absolutely busting their asses at the minute. Like Aussie Open are having good matches on the weekly, at least once a week, sometimes multiple times a week. And yeah, they're just great to watch. Like, this is the first time I've really seen Aussie Open since they joined AEW, and I'm blown away. They're absolutely fantastic. Obviously, they're associated with Will Ospreay as well, who's arguably the best wrestler in the world at the minute. So, you know, everything's there to say that they are brilliant, and they are. And I would quite like to see them go for the AEW tag team titles, just because I know them and FTR could put on a banger of a match. I do feel sorry though for Commander, who is still looking for his first win in AEW, and they said it was just really good. They had a segment afterwards with Darby Allin and Nick Wayne where some plot holes, I guess, got resolved. I don't know, it was all about apologies and stuff like that. Yeah, then Christian Cage came out. I love Christian Cage. He's brilliant. And yeah, it was pretty much, he wants to bang Nick Wayne's mum, which is funny as fuck. You know, why not? You know, I mean, he's just funny. I love Christian. He's fantastic. And he's just like, as soon as he knows there's a wrestler whose dad's died, he's fucking on it like a car bonnet. He's brilliant. I do not have enough love for Christian Cage. Following that, we had the Outcasts defeat Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida, and Chris Statlander. This was like majorly good for me. Like 2 weeks ago, I went on a rant about how Ruby Soho should be getting wins because she's kind of the weak link of the Outcasts, and she should be doing more. She should be booked better, and we're getting it. My prayers were answered. I'm so happy because the Outcasts got the win. There wasn't too much mishap and turmoil with the Outcasts. There was a moment where Storm landed on Saraya, but it wasn't too bad. Not as much to a point as at All In. And then Ruby Soho pinned Britt Baker, which in my opinion is huge. Like every match Soho's had with Baker, she's not been able to get the pin over her, she's not been able to get the win. You know, Baker's always got the better of Soho in whatever situation. And this time she got the pin over her, which is awesome, and it's great to see. You know, I don't know what's happened, but I've suddenly become a huge fan of the Outcasts. Like, groups are really my thing. I like the Blackpool Combat Club, I like Bullet Club, I like Bullet Club Gold, I like the Outcasts, I like Bloodline, I like Judgment Day. I'm all for a stable, you know. And yeah, it was just a really cool match. I think it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I had some doubts after the match with Shida, Baker and Statlander on Dynamite, but this was actually probably one of the better matches of the show, if not, in my opinion, the best match of the show. And yeah, it's like, I'm looking forward to Soho and Statlander at the weekend, or tonight, sorry, it is tonight. I'm recording this on the Sunday morning, so you'll have to forgive me, but yeah, so looking forward to it, and I do hope Soho gets the win because I quite like to see the Outcasts on top and see Toni Storm become even more insane, because apparently she was half naked throwing shoes at birds early on Saturday, so that's a bit crazy. But yeah, very happy for Ruby Soho to be getting the win on Collision. Following that, we had Powerhouse Hobbs punch out a squash match against a guy I can't even remember the name of. Miro came out, they had a big brawl, Miro got the upper hand. Pretty straightforward stuff before the pay-per-view. It's going to be a really hard-hitting match, but should be a really, really good match as well. So, fully looking forward to Hobbs and Miro. Quickly following on, we had Jay White defeat Dax Harwood. In what was a good match, it got a bit tedious, I feel like, especially with Dax doing chops. Like, he has brutal chops, but it got to a point where, like, it felt as if he was just hitting the same button on on Fight Forever. He was just hitting the same button, attack button, over and over again. It's just chop, 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 over. It got really boring, like, eventually. Like, they felt less brutal because he was doing them so often. But yeah, it was a really good way to end Collision. And yeah, the kind of final moments of that match with the, I forgot what he calls it, switchblade? He doesn't call it switchblade. I don't know what Jay White's finish is called, it's left my brain. We did it on the outside, and then Dax rolled him up, which I thought was going to be the finish. And then he did it again, and then he got the win. It was pretty cool, I liked it anyway. The transitions were really nice in that finish. And yeah, Jay White gets the win, which means I'm pretty sure he's still undefeated in singles action since joining AEW, which, you know, can get him in the world title picture. Now MJF's a bit of a face, you can have MJF and Adam Cole versus Bullet Club Gold, that'd be pretty good. Plus, you know, I quite like to see Jay White as world champion. I don't think he's going to beat MJF, but at some point I'd love to see Jay White as world champion in AEW. And yeah, just a bit to add on. Some quick predictions for the matches that got added on during this show. So you had obviously Danielson and Starks in a strap match. I got Danielson to win for that one. More because it's his first match back since Forbidden Door, and I feel like they're going to try and build him back up to face MJF at some point, as I do think he might be the one to take the title off MJF eventually. There's some kind of charity battle royal, like someone wins 50k and they donate it to a charity of their choice, but we don't know who's in it, so I have no idea. If I had to take a shot in the dark, I'd maybe have Penta get the win, or one of the Lucha Brothers. I can't really think of anyone else. Maybe Juice Robinson. Oh no, he's in the one tag. Christian Cage. I know he won't donate to charity. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe Sammy Guevara's in it. He can get a win. But yeah, so as we don't know who's in it, I have no idea. Just if off the top of my head, one of the Lucha Bros or Sammy Guevara to get the win in that one. We have the Acclaim defending the trios titles against Jarrett, Satnam Singh, and Jay Lethal. I've got the Acclaim to successfully defending that one. I feel like they're nowhere near the end of their title reign yet. If anything, they're going to have probably the longest reign in the titles histories, even though House of Black have just done that. But the Acclaim are so over at the minute, it would be silly for them to drop the title so quickly. And we also have a 6-woman tag team match, and we'll just grab my notes to remember who's in it. It's Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, and Shida will take on Athena, Mercedes Martinez, and Diamante. For me, I've got the heels to get the win in this one. So it'll be Mercedes, Diamante, and Athena. I feel like Athena, though she did lose recently to somebody, might have been Renegades, or not, or Billy's, I don't know. She lost recently and it was like a really big deal. I don't watch Ring of Honor, so you have to forgive me that I've forgotten. But I feel like Athena is on such a good run in the minute. And also Mercedes and Diamante got a huge win over Statlander and Willow. So I feel like that's going to be a continued story, especially including Willow. And also Sky Blue got the win on Rampage, therefore in Chicago. So I think that they're also going to do the heel win here, just because I feel like it helps out Athena more and Mercedes more towards championship matches. But yeah, that's about it for Collision. I thought this was actually one of a better show for Collision. If I had to put things for AEW in rank, I'd probably go Dynamite, Collision, Rampage. Though Rampage was very good, and I had a lot of high praise for Rampage in the last segment where I was wearing a different shirt and not a hat. But yeah, it's a really solid episode of Collision. I'm happy with some of the matches that have been announced for All Out. It's starting to feel like more of a big deal now. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the show tonight. So those are my thoughts and opinions of this week in wrestling. I know it's kind of looked a bit weird with me wearing different shirts and that, but I've been recording stuff in different sections because of Payback and All Out this weekend. So it's kind of been busy on the channel. I think for the month of August I've uploaded 7 videos, which is probably the most I've ever done in a month. So yeah, I mean, I hope you've all enjoyed all the content. Do comment down below any feedback you've got for me. And yeah, all the predictions for All Out are up on the channel at the minute, so you want to go watch that. And yeah, do comment down below what your favourite parts of the week were, what you're looking forward to next week. And yeah, I'll ask you guys to subscribe, like, comment, share, notification bell, all the decent shtick. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be tomorrow for the Backlash review. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.